The morning started like any other on Europa Colony. Sarah Chen watched her daughter Maya board the school transport, the little girl's backpack bouncing as she climbed the steps. The massive Jupiter hung in the sky above them, its swirling storms a familiar sight through the colony's protective dome. Sarah never saw her daughter again. At exactly 10:47 a.m., Earth Standard Time, something happened across every human colony in the solar system. Children vanished. Not just one or two, but thousands. They disappeared from classrooms, playgrounds, and homes. Security cameras showed nothing. One moment the children were there, the next they were gone. Commander Marcus Torres stood in the emergency meeting room at Earth's Defense Command, his jaw clenched as reports flooded in. The numbers were staggering. 23,000 children, all between the ages of 6 and 12, had vanished without a trace. How is this possible? Senator Keiko Nakamura demanded, her voice sharp with fear and anger. Our defense systems detected nothing? Torres shook his head grimly. Whatever technology they used, it bypassed everything we have. No ships, no energy signatures, nothing. The answer came 3 days later. A massive vessel appeared above Earth, its sleek silver hull unlike anything humanity had encountered. It broadcast a message on all frequencies, in perfect English, Mandarin, Spanish, and every other human language. Greetings, primitive species designated as humanity. I am Executor Zarthax of the Galactic Empire. Your offspring have been collected for integration into our service programs. They will be educated and trained to serve the Empire's needs. This is an honor bestowed upon developing species. Do not attempt resistance. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Accept this tribute to the Empire, and continue your existence in peace. The transmission ended. In homes across Earth and its colonies, parents wept. Rage burned in the hearts of mothers and fathers who had lost their children to an alien empire that viewed them as nothing more than resources to be harvested. President Elena Rodriguez addressed humanity from the United Nations building in New York. Her eyes were hard as steel, her voice steady, despite the tears that threatened to fall. The Galactic Empire has made a grave mistake, she said. They looked at humanity and saw weakness. They saw a species to be exploited. They took our children. Her fist slammed onto the podium. They will learn why that was the worst decision they ever made. Within hours, humanity mobilized unlike anything seen in history. Old rivalries between nations vanished overnight. Every resource, every brilliant mind, every soldier united under a single purpose. Bring the children home. Dr. James Wright had spent his career studying theoretical physics. Now he worked alongside thousands of scientists in underground bunkers, pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. If they can teleport our children, there must be a signature, a trace, he muttered, his fingers flying across holographic displays. In military bases around the world, a different preparation was underway. General Ana Silva stood before assembled troops, her voice carrying across the parade ground. The Empire expects us to cower. They expect us to accept their theft of our children. They don't know who they're dealing with. The call went out for a special kind of soldier. Not the young recruits eager for glory, but the ones who understood patience. The ones who could wait in silence for days, who could make a single shot count. The snipers. Jake Morrison had retired from Special Forces 5 years ago. He was building furniture in Montana when the call came. His own nephew was among the taken. He didn't hesitate. Across the world, others like him answered the call. Veterans, hunters, Olympic marksmen, anyone who could put a bullet exactly where it needed to go. Why snipers? A young soldier asked during training. Instructor Chen, a grizzled veteran with more confirmed kills than anyone cared to count, smiled coldly. Because wars aren't won by the biggest guns. They're won by precision, by patience, by putting fear into the enemy's heart. One shot, one kill, from a distance they'll never see coming. The training was brutal. In the Australian outback, the Siberian tundra, the Sahara Desert, 70,000 men and women learned to become ghosts. They studied alien anatomy from the limited data available. They trained with new weapons hastily developed by Earth scientists, rifles that could punch through energy shields, bullets that could track heat signatures across impossible distances. Maria Santos had been a competition shooter before the taking. Her daughter Rosa was gone, swept away by the Empire's technology. As she lay prone on a shooting range, steadying her breathing, she whispered, "This is for you, Mija. Mama's coming." 6 months after the children were taken, Dr. Wright made a breakthrough. "I found it," he shouted, bursting into the command center. "The teleportation signature. It leaves a quantum resonance. We can track where they took them." The data showed a location 300 light-years away, in a system the Empire called Throne World Delta. It was a military training facility where they indoctrinated species they considered useful. President Rodriguez stood before the Assembly of World Leaders. "We know where our children are. The question is, how do we get there?" The answer came from an unexpected source. During the months of preparation, Earth's hackers had been busy. They'd captured and decoded fragments of Galactic Empire transmissions. They learned about trade routes, technology, and most importantly, about species who resented the Empire's rule. Contact was made with the Kelari, a race of traders who had suffered under Empire taxation for centuries. They agreed to provide ships and navigation data in exchange for something the Empire had taken from them long ago. "You want to fight the Empire?" the Kelari ambassador asked through the translator, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "Many have tried. All have failed." General Silva leaned forward. "Others tried to fight them head-on. We're not going to fight. We're going to hunt." The plan was audacious. The 70,000 snipers would be inserted across Empire territory, not as an army, but as invisible predators. They would target Empire officials, disrupt supply lines, and create fear among those who had never known it. "The Empire thinks in terms of fleets and armies," President Rodriguez explained to the War Council. "They conquer through overwhelming force. But what happens when death comes from the shadows? When their officers fall one by one, never knowing where the next shot will come from?" Tom Bradley was among the first wave of snipers to ship out. A former Marine Scout sniper. He'd lost his son in the taking. As his transport prepared to enter the alien jump gate provided by the Kelari, he looked at the photo in his pocket. "Hold on, buddy. Dad's coming." The Empire's response to the missing children had been silence. They clearly expected humanity to accept their loss and move on. They had no idea what was coming. On Throne World Delta, Executor Zarthax reviewed the newest batch of recruits. The human children were proving surprisingly adaptable. Their small fingers were perfect for delicate technical work, and their young minds absorbed Empire doctrine readily. "In a few years, they will be model servants," he told his subordinate. "Their emotional attachment to their birth world will fade. This is the way of the Empire." He didn't notice the Kelari trade vessel passing through the system's outer reaches. He didn't detect the small pods it released, each carrying a single human sniper and enough supplies to last months. Jake Morrison's pod landed on a moon overlooking a major Empire supply depot. He spent 3 days setting up his position, studying patrol patterns, learning the rhythm of the base. On the 4th day, he took his first shot. The depot commander was addressing his troops when his head simply vanished in a spray of purple blood. The shot had come from over 2 miles away. By the time the Empire forces reacted, Jake was already moving to his next position. Across Empire space, similar scenes played out. Officers fell during inspections, supply convoys found their drivers dead, vehicles careening off roads, communication technicians died at their posts, scrambling vital messages. The Empire's first response was confusion. Who was attacking them? Where was the enemy fleet? Their scanners showed nothing. Their patrols found only empty hideouts and spent shell casings. Fear began to spread. Empire soldiers who had conquered 100 worlds started looking over their shoulders. They clustered together, afraid to stand alone. Officers began wearing heavy armor, even in secure facilities. Maria Santos had spent 2 weeks watching an Empire recruitment center. She'd identified the commander, learned his routine. When he stepped out for his morning inspection, she was ready. The shot took him in the chest, punching through his personal shield like paper. She was gone before his body hit the ground. The psychological warfare was as important as the physical kills. Snipers left messages written in the Empire's own language. "Return our children. You are not safe. We are coming." Some snipers got creative. Chen placed speakers around an Empire barracks, playing recordings of human children laughing and playing. The alien soldiers spent sleepless nights jumping at shadows, firing at sounds that weren't there. On Earth, the war effort continued. Scientists worked on improving weapons and equipment. Intelligence teams decoded more Empire transmissions, identifying targets and weaknesses. Most importantly, they kept the pressure on, sending wave after wave of snipers into Empire territory. The Galactic Empire had ruled for 3,000 years. They had crushed rebellions, absorbed civilizations, and built an interstellar government spanning 10,000 worlds. But they had never faced an enemy like this. An enemy that didn't seek territory or resources, but came only for their stolen children. Executor Zarthax stood in his office on Throne World Delta, reading report after report of dead officers and disrupted operations. His forearms trembled with rage. "How?" he demanded of his intelligence chief. "How can a primitive species cause such chaos?" "They don't fight as we understand fighting," the chief replied nervously. "They strike and vanish. Our soldiers are." "Afraid, Executor." Zarthax's mandibles clicked in disgust. The mighty Galactic Empire. Afraid of a species that had barely achieved interstellar travel. It was unthinkable. And yet, the reports kept coming. Dead officers, destroyed supplies, and always those messages. "Return our children." He looked out his window at the training grounds where human children marched in formation, learning to serve the Empire. They seemed so small, so insignificant. How could their loss drive an entire species to such lengths? He would never understand. The Empire saw children as resources, future servants to be molded. They couldn't comprehend that to humanity, each child was irreplaceable, worth burning down the galaxy to retrieve. The war had begun, fought not with massive fleets but with patience, precision, and the unstoppable determination of parents who would cross the universe to bring their children home. The Galactic Empire had awakened something they could never have imagined. The fury of humanity defending its young. In the shadows of 1,000 worlds, 70,000 snipers waited, watched, and squeezed their triggers. Each shot carried the same message: "We are coming for our children, and nothing in the universe will stop us." 6 months into humanity's shadow war, the Galactic Empire finally began to understand the nature of their enemy. High Commander Vextor had been brought in specifically to deal with what the Empire called the human pest problem. He was known for crushing rebellions on a dozen worlds, and his methods were brutally efficient. "Show me everything," Vextor commanded, his 6 eyes scanning multiple holographic displays simultaneously. Intelligence reports, death tolls, pattern analyses, all painted a picture of an enemy unlike any the Empire had faced. His aide, Sub-Commander Thekval, gestured to a star map, dotted with red markers. Each mark represents a confirmed sniper kill. "High Commander, as you can see, they're spread across 17 sectors." Vextor's scaled hide rippled, a sign of deep thought among his species. "They don't hold territory. They don't mass forces. They simply hunt." "Yes, High Commander. Our behavioral specialists believe each operates alone or in pairs. They show remarkable patience, sometimes waiting weeks for a single shot." In a hidden observation post on the industrial world of Kalos 7, Sniper Team Rivera and Thompson watched Empire forces through their scopes. They'd been partners since the war began, covering each other as they moved from world to world. "They're learning," Rivera muttered, observing the Empire patrol below. The soldiers moved in, unpredictable patterns now, never staying still for long. Personal shields had been upgraded, and they traveled in larger groups. Thompson adjusted his scope's magnification. "Doesn't matter. Everyone slips up eventually. They'd been watching this particular base for 9 days, memorizing schedules and identifying targets. Today, they'd spotted their opportunity. A senior logistics officer who had to inspect cargo holds personally due to new security protocols. Wind speed? Rivera asked. 3.7 meters per second, southwest. Adjusting for atmospheric density, the logistics officer emerged from an armored transport, surrounded by guards. For just a moment, as he turned to speak to a subordinate, there was a gap in the protection. Rivera's rifle whispered death across 2 miles of alien landscape. The officer's chest exploded, purple gore painting the transport's hull. Before the guards could react, Thompson's shot took down the communications specialist who was already reaching for his emergency beacon. By the time Empire reinforcements arrived, the snipers were ghost stories on the wind. On Earth, President Rodriguez met with the War Council in the deepest bunker beneath Geneva. The room was filled with exhausted faces, but their eyes burned with determination. Status report. Rodriguez commanded. General Silva pulled up the latest data. We've confirmed over 12,000 Empire casualties, mostly officers and technical specialists. Their operations in frontier sectors have slowed by 30%. More importantly, they're pulling resources from other territories to hunt our people. Our losses? 417 confirmed Kia, another 600 missing, presumed captured or killed. Silva's voice hardened. Each one volunteered, knowing they might not come back. Dr. Wright interjected. We've made progress on the children's location. Our Kelari allies provided intel on Throne World Delta's defenses. It's formidable. The hologram showed a planet surrounded by defense platforms, shield generators, and patrol fleets. It was a fortress designed to train the Empire's stolen children from 100 species. We can't assault it directly, Admiral Foster said. Not without a fleet we don't have. Then we continue the pressure, Rodriguez decided. Make them hurt everywhere else until they have no choice but to negotiate. Unknown to the War Council, one sniper team had already made it to Throne World Delta. Lisa Park and David Kim had spent 2 months infiltrating the system aboard a cargo hauler, hiding among shipping containers filled with supplies for the training facility. Park had been a police sniper in Seoul before the taking. Her daughter was somewhere on this world. Kim, a former Canadian Special Forces operator, had lost his twin sons. They'd volunteered for what everyone knew was likely a one-way mission. Security is tight, Kim observed through microbinoculars as they studied the facility from a concealed position in the mountains. Energy barriers, automated defenses, and those are just the ones we can see. Park was focused on something else, the training grounds where small figures in gray uniforms marched in formation. Even from this distance, she could see they were children. Human children, mixed with young aliens of various species, all being molded into servants of the Empire. We stick to the plan, she said, voice tight with controlled emotion. Gather intel, identify weak points, and relay everything back to Earth. The Empire's response to the sniper threat grew increasingly desperate. High Commander Vex Tor implemented new protocols. Officers traveled in armored convoys. Important facilities were placed under lockdown, and rewards were offered for any information about human positions. It wasn't enough. Marcus Chen, operating on the mining world of Drexar, had developed a new tactic. Instead of killing officers, he targeted infrastructure. A single shot to a critical cooling system could shut down an entire processing plant. A bullet through a power coupling could black out a city sector. The Empire troops stationed on Drexar grew paranoid. They saw snipers in every shadow, flinched at every unexpected sound. Productivity plummeted as workers refused to operate exposed machinery. The local commander, a 4-armed Thraxian named Golmer, sent increasingly frantic reports to his superiors. We need more troops. The humans are everywhere and nowhere. My soldiers are breaking. The response from High Command was swift and brutal. Golmer was executed for cowardice, replaced by a hardliner who instituted mass reprisals against the local population suspected of harboring humans. It was a mistake. The Drexar natives had been neutral, focused only on survival under Empire rule. But when Empire forces began rounding up civilians for interrogation, when families were separated and workers disappeared, neutrality turned to quiet support for the human snipers. Chen found his supplies replenished by unknown benefactors. Local workers would create distractions at crucial moments. Maps of Empire facilities appeared at his hidden campsites. On the jungle world of Verdanos, sniper Maria Santos had spent 3 weeks tracking a high-value target, Sector Administrator Kexlan, responsible for conscripting children from a dozen worlds. He rarely left his fortified compound, and when he did, he traveled in an armored hovercar with military escort. But Santos had learned patience in the months since her daughter was taken. She studied weather patterns, memorizing when the morning fog would be thickest. She calculated angles from positions no one would think to check. She waited. The morning came when everything aligned. Fog rolled through the valley, reducing visibility to mere meters. Kexlan's convoy moved slowly, careful of potential ambush. They never considered the shot would come from above. Santos had climbed a massive tree the night before, securing herself 300 feet up. Through the fog, she could barely see the convoy, but thermal imaging painted her targets clearly. She waited until the hovercar slowed for a turn, the brief moment when its shield generators cycled to compensate for the maneuver. One shot. The administrator's head vanished, his body slumping over his ornate desk inside the vehicle. The convoy erupted in chaos, soldiers firing blindly into the fog, while Santos rappelled down the opposite side of the tree and vanished into the jungle. Back on Earth, the war effort had transformed human society. Factories that once produced consumer goods now manufactured specialized ammunition. Universities became training centers for new waves of snipers. Children grew up knowing their brothers and sisters were out there, somewhere, waiting to be rescued. The psychological impact on humanity was profound but focused. There were no protests against the war, no calls for peace. Every human understood. The children would come home, or humanity would die trying. Dr. Wright's team had made another breakthrough. By analyzing captured Empire technology and combining it with human innovation, they'd developed a new type of rifle. The prototype could fire through most known shield types and had an effective range of over 5 miles in standard atmosphere. "We're calling it the long shot," Wright explained to the military council. "Production begins next week. Every sniper in the field will get one." The Empire's economy began to show strain. Trade routes were abandoned as merchant captains refused to enter sectors where snipers operated. Insurance rates for Empire officials skyrocketed. Some governors began traveling in disguise, afraid to show their faces in public. High Commander Vextor stood before the Empire Senate, a body that hadn't convened for a military emergency in over a century. "Honored senators, we face a threat unlike any in our history. The humans refuse to engage in civilized warfare. They strike from shadow and vanish. They target not just military but civilian infrastructure." Senator Okthor, ancient even by Empire standards, interrupted. "You speak of humans as if they were a military power. They are primitives who have barely left their home system. Crush them." "With respect, Senator, crushing them would require finding them. They don't mass forces. They don't hold territory. Each operates independently, making decisions without central command. Destroy one, and the others continue." Another senator clicked her mandibles dismissively. "Then destroy their homeworld. Make an example." Vextor had considered this. "Our analysts predict that destroying Earth would not stop the snipers already deployed. It might, in fact, make them more dangerous. Currently, they show restraint, targeting only military and government personnel. If we destroy their world," he didn't need to finish. Everyone understood. 70,000 trained killers with nothing left to lose would turn the Empire's territories into hunting grounds. On Throne World Delta, Lisa Park and David Kim had spent weeks mapping the training facility. They'd identified guard rotations, shield generator locations, and most importantly, where the children were housed. "Barracks 7 through 12, Park whispered into her recorder. Approximately 3,000 human children, ages 6 to 12. Condition appears adequate. No signs of physical abuse, but intensive indoctrination program in place. Kim was focused on the facility's defenses. Automated turrets every 50 meters. Overlapping fields of fire. Energy barriers that cycle every 12 seconds. Getting in would be hard. Getting out with 3,000 kids. They both knew it was impossible with their current resources. But the intelligence they gathered would be invaluable for the rescue attempt everyone knew was coming. Their position was compromised on the 33rd day. A routine patrol using new detection equipment picked up their heat signatures. Park and Kim had minutes to transmit their data before Empire forces converged on their position. Base, this is Overwatch 7. Park spoke rapidly into the quantum communicator. Uploading all reconnaissance data now. Confirm receipt. Overwatch 7, this is Base. Data received. Get out of there. Kim laughed bitterly. Not happening, Base. Too many hostiles. He looked at Park. Buy me 5 minutes? She nodded, understanding immediately. While she laid down suppressing fire, Kim began uploading something else. Detailed scans of the Empire's defensive systems, patrol schedules, and most critically, the quantum signatures of the teleportation systems used to transport the children. Park's rifle sang death as Empire soldiers advanced. Each shot dropped one. But there were hundreds. Her ammunition ran low as Kim's upload bar slowly filled. 90%, he called out. An energy blast took Park in the shoulder, spinning her around. She kept firing with her offhand, buying precious seconds. Done, Kim shouted. Everything's sent. They looked at each other, two parents who had traveled 300 light-years knowing they'd never return. Park thought of her daughter, Kim of his sons. They smiled. When the Empire forces finally overran their position, they found 2 bodies and a quantum transmitter still warm from use. The data had already reached Earth, providing the final pieces needed for the rescue plan. High Commander Vextor received the report of the Throne World infiltration with something approaching respect. They knew it was suicide. Yet they came anyway. His aide was confused. I don't understand, High Commander. Why sacrifice themselves for mere information? Vextor studied the images of the 2 dead humans, because to them, it wasn't sacrifice, it was duty. We took their offspring. His scales shifted to a color his aide had never seen before. I begin to think we have made a terrible error. The war entered a new phase. Armed with Park and Kim's intelligence, Earth strategists began planning the impossible. A rescue mission to retrieve 3,000 children from the heart of the Empire's training facility. Meanwhile, across Empire space, 70,000 snipers continued their work. Each shot fired carried the same message, delivered in lead and determination. We are coming for our children. The Empire had ruled the galaxy through strength and fear. Now they were learning what fear felt like when it came calling in the night, delivered by parents who would burn down the stars themselves to bring their babies home. In her hidden position overlooking an Empire supply depot, Maria Santos checked her rifle and settled in to wait. Her daughter was out there, somewhere among the stars, and Santos would keep killing until Rosa was free, or until her last breath left her body. The hunt continued. The data from Park and Kim's sacrifice changed everything. For the first time, humanity had detailed intelligence on Throne World, Delta's defenses, the children's exact location, and most crucially, the quantum signatures needed to breach the Empire's teleportation shields. In a secure facility beneath the Sahara Desert, Dr. Wright stood before humanity's greatest scientific minds. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 10 weeks to reverse engineer Empire teleportation technology and build our own version, one that can evacuate 3,000 children in under 5 minutes. The task was monumental. Empire technology was centuries ahead of Earth's, but desperation drove innovation. Scientists worked 20-hour days, testing theories that would have been considered impossible just years before. Meanwhile, the sniper war intensified. Humanity's shadow warriors had received their new long-shot rifles, and the results were devastating. On the fortress world of Kalos Prime, Sniper Jake Morrison eliminated an entire Empire command staff from 4 miles away, each shot punching through personal shields like tissue paper. The Empire's response grew increasingly frantic. High Commander Vex's Tor authorized the deployment of hunter-killer teams. Elite units, specifically trained to track and eliminate snipers. They had some success, human casualties mounted as the hunter-killers adapted to sniper tactics. But for every sniper lost, 2 more seemed to take their place. Earth had begun deploying its second wave. Younger volunteers trained with lessons learned from the first. They were even more patient, more careful, more deadly. Marcus Chen faced one of these hunter-killer teams on Drexar. They'd tracked him for days, using technology he didn't understand. When they finally cornered him in an abandoned processing plant, he knew his time had come. Empire dogs, he muttered, setting his final trap. He'd rigged the plant's power core to overload, turning the entire facility into a bomb. When the hunter-killers breached his position, Chen smiled and pressed the detonator. The explosion took out 3 city blocks, along with the entire hunter-killer unit. Chen's final message, broadcast on all frequencies, for the children. On Throne World Delta, Executor Zarthax watched the human children in their daily training. They'd adapted well to Empire indoctrination, though some still cried at night for parents they barely remembered. In a few more years, the Empire's investment would pay off thousands of technically skilled servants loyal only to the Empire. He didn't notice the unusual sensor reading from the system's edge. A Kellery trading vessel had suffered a malfunction and dropped out of hyperspace early. Its distress call was answered by Empire patrol ships, who found nothing suspicious about the damaged merchant vessel. Hidden in the trader's shielded cargo holds were 300 of humanity's most elite soldiers, not snipers this time, but close combat specialists trained for a very specific mission. Captain Sarah Chen, no relation to the sniper Marcus, led the assault team. Her daughter Maya was somewhere in that facility below. Every soldier on this mission had a child among the taken. They called themselves the recovery team, and they'd trained for one purpose: hold the landing zones long enough for the children to escape. Remember, Chen addressed her troops, we're not here to win a war. We're here to buy time. 5 minutes after we land, the extraction begins. We hold for 30 minutes, no matter the cost. On Earth, the moment of truth arrived. Dr. Wright stood in the control room of humanity's first quantum teleportation facility, watching as technicians ran final checks. They had one shot at this. If it failed, the Empire would adapt their defenses, and the children would be lost forever. President Rodriguez placed a hand on Wright's shoulder. James, the hopes of every parent on Earth rest with you. Wright nodded, unable to speak past the lump in his throat. His own granddaughter was among the taken. Initiating quantum field generation, a technician announced. Synchronizing with target coordinates. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Using the quantum signatures Park and Kim had died to obtain, they would punch through Throne World Delta's shields at 6 different points. Recovery teams would secure landing zones, while specialized units rushed to the children's barracks. Then, the largest teleportation event in history would bring them all home. High Commander Vextor was reviewing casualty reports when alarms screamed across Throne World Delta. Alert! Shield breach detected. Multiple insertion points. He rushed to the command center, his 6 eyes taking in the tactical display. Human forces were materializing inside the defensive perimeter, exactly where the shields should have been strongest. How? He demanded. His technical officer's scales had gone pale. They're using our own quantum frequencies, High Commander. They've learned our technology. Vextor felt something he'd never experienced in 300 years of military service. Genuine fear. Not of death, but of understanding. The humans weren't just defending their offspring. They were displaying a level of determination that defied all logic. All units to defensive positions, he ordered. Protect the training facility at all costs. Captain Chen's team hit the ground running. Empire forces, caught completely off guard, struggled to respond as humans carved a path toward the children's barracks. These weren't the patient snipers the Empire had learned to fear. These were parents unleashed, fury given form. Sergeant Williams, who'd lost his twin boys, led the charge toward Barracks 7. His team's new armor, hastily developed from captured Empire technology, absorbed energy blasts that would have killed unprotected humans. When his rifle overheated, he switched to a combat blade, cutting through Empire soldiers with brutal efficiency. Barracks secured, came the call. Beginning evacuation. Inside, human children blinked in confusion as armored figures burst through the doors. Some cowered, their indoctrination making them fear these strangers. Others, memories stirred by familiar accents and languages, began to cry. "It's okay." Lieutenant Martinez spoke gently, removing her helmet to show a human face. "We're here to take you home. Your parents are waiting." The Empire's response was swift but disorganized. They'd prepared for external assault, not insertion directly into their compound. Executor Zarthax himself led a counterattack toward Barracks 9, his personal guard cutting down 2 human soldiers. He found himself face to face with Captain Chen. She didn't hesitate, emptying her rifle into his personal shield. It held, barely, but the kinetic force drove him back. "You don't understand," Zarthax shouted in accented English. "The children are better off with us. We can give them purpose, education, a place in the galaxy." Chen's response was a combat knife thrown with deadly precision. It struck the weakened point in his shield, piercing through to lodge in his shoulder. "They already have a purpose," she snarled. "They're our children." They are. In orbit, the Kellery vessel had dropped its disguise, revealing massive teleportation arrays jerry-rigged to its hull. Earth's entire power grid fed energy through quantum relays, preparing for the largest mass transportation in history. "Teleportation network online," Dr. Wright announced. "Beginning extraction." Now, on the surface, human children began vanishing in flashes of light. Confusion turned to chaos as Empire forces realized what was happening. They tried to stop it, firing at the extraction points, but the recovery team held them back with desperate fury. Private Thompson died holding a corridor, his body shielding a group of 8-year-olds as they waited for transport. Corporal Nguyen fell defending Barracks 11, her last act to destroy an Empire heavy weapon that threatened the extraction. In the command bunker on Earth, numbers flashed across screens. 100 extracted. 500. 1,000. The Empire threw everything at the human positions. Executor Zarthax, purple blood streaming from his shoulder, personally led assault after assault. But the humans wouldn't break. Parents facing the killers of their children's innocence fought with a savagery that shocked even battle-hardened Empire veterans. 2,000 children extracted. 2,500. Captain Chen's communicator crackled. "Captain, 90% extraction complete. Prepare for withdrawal." "Negative," Chen responded, gunning down an Empire officer. "We hold until every child is home." In the mountains overlooking the facility, something impossible happened. Sniper positions that had been empty moments before suddenly bristled with rifles. The second wave had arrived. 20,000 fresh snipers teleported directly to Throne World Delta. The hillsides erupted with precise fire. Every Empire soldier who showed themselves died. Officers, technicians, heavy weapon crews all fell to invisible death from above. The snipers had come to ensure no pursuit would follow the children home. "Final child extracted," Wright's voice carried across all channels. "All units, withdrawal authorized." But the recovery team couldn't withdraw. They were too deep, too surrounded. Captain Chen looked at her surviving soldiers, less than 50 from the original 300. "Well," she said with a tired smile, "let's make them remember us." High Commander Vextor watched from his command center as the humans sold their lives dearly. He could have ordered orbital bombardment, but something stayed his hand. These primitives, this barely spacefaring race, had done the impossible. They'd breached the Empire's greatest defenses, stolen back their offspring, and shown a unity of purpose that put the Empire's 1,000 species to shame. "High Commander," his aide ventured carefully, "should we pursue? Their world is defenseless." Vextor was quiet for a long moment. Below, The last human soldier, Captain Chen herself, fell to concentrated fire. She died with a smile, knowing her daughter was safe. "No," Vextor said finally. "Signal all Empire forces. The humans have retrieved their offspring. The matter is settled." His staff exchanged shocked glances. The Empire never admitted defeat. But Vextor had seen something in the humans' desperate charge, in their willingness to die for their children. He'd seen the future. "Send a message to Earth," he commanded. "The Galactic Empire formally recognizes humanity's recovery of their citizens. There will be no retaliation. On Earth, celebration mixed with mourning. 3,000 children had come home, traumatized but alive. The price: over 3,000 dead soldiers and snipers, including the entire recovery team. Maya Chen was among the returned. She barely remembered her mother's face, but she clutched a photograph someone had given her. Captain Sarah Chen in uniform, smiling at the camera. In the weeks that followed, the children slowly readjusted to human life. Some struggled with nightmares, others with the rigid discipline drilled into them. But they were home, surrounded by family and love. The 70,000 snipers remained deployed across Empire space for 6 more months, ensuring no retaliation came. When it became clear the Empire would honor its word, they began the long journey home. Jake Morrison was among the last to return. He'd spent over a year living as a ghost among the stars, killing for a cause that had consumed him. When he finally set foot on Earth again, he found his nephew waiting at the spaceport. "Uncle Jake!" the boy cried, running into his arms. "You came back." Morrison held him tight, feeling the weight of his rifle for the last time before setting it down forever. "Yeah, kiddo. We all came back." The Galactic Empire never again attempted to take human children. In their halls of power, the story spread of a primitive species that had brought the Empire to its knees, not with fleets or armies, but with determination and precision rifles. Some Empire scholars studied the conflict, trying to understand how humanity had succeeded where others failed. The answer, when they found it, was simple and terrifying. Humans would do anything for their children. Anything. Years later, when humanity finally took its place among the galactic community as equals, other species would ask about the war. How had they won? What was their secret? The answer was always the same, delivered with quiet pride. "They took our children. We took them back." In military academies across human space, the 70,000 became legend. Their rifles were displayed in museums, their stories told to new generations. But the greatest monument was simpler. 3,000 children who grew up free, who had children of their own, who knew that somewhere among the stars, 70,000 parents had been willing to burn down heaven itself to bring them home. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Never take human children. The response would be swift, precise, and absolutely without mercy. On a quiet evening on Earth, Maria Santos sat with her daughter Rosa, now a teenager struggling to remember her time with the Empire. They watched the stars together, and Rosa asked the question she'd been building toward for years. "Mom, would you really have kept fighting forever, if they hadn't given us back?" Santos pulled her daughter close, remembering the weight of a rifle, the patient hours of waiting, the lives she'd taken for this moment. "Forever isn't long enough, Mija, not when it comes to you." High Commander Vex Tor, in his retirement, often thought about the human conflict. He'd fought in countless wars, conquered dozens of species. But only humanity had taught him fear, not fear of death, but fear of purpose of a species united by love rather than conquest. He'd written in his memoirs, "The Empire made one crucial error. We saw their children as resources. They saw them as reasons to remake the universe. In that difference lay our defeat." The memorial wall at Earth Defense Command bore 3,317 names, every human who died in the Recovery War. But beside it stood another monument, a simple statue of a parent holding a child, with an inscription that became humanity's warning to the universe. For our children, we will cross the void. For our children, we will break your shields. For our children, we will never stop coming. You have been warned. The Galactic Empire never forgot. And humanity? Humanity never needed to forgive, because they had won the only victory that mattered. Their children were home.